before the injuries, before the tears, before the whispers of what could have been, there was a kid from Inglewood, Chicago, who played basketball like his life depended on it because, in many ways, it did. Derrick Rose grew up in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the country, raised by his mother and 3 older brothers who fiercely protected him from the streets. From the start, basketball wasn't just a game, it was a sanctuary. By the time he was in high school at Simeon Career Academy, Rose was already a legend in the making, wearing number 25 to honor slain Chicago star Benji Wilson. Derrick didn't just play, he electrified. He soared, he sliced, he dominated. Scouts knew, the city knew, Chicago hadn't seen a high school phenom like this in years. Rose took his talents to the University of Memphis for a single season under coach John Calipari. He led the Tigers to a school record 38 wins and a national championship appearance, though later vacated due to eligibility issues. Still, Rose was undeniable. He declared for the NBA draft in 2008 and was taken number 1 overall by the team. He grew up watching the Chicago Bulls. A hometown hero was born in just his first year. Rose averaged 16.8 points and 6.3 assists per game. He won Rookie of the Year and became the youngest player in Bulls history to score over 30 points in a playoff game. But that was just the beginning. By 22, Derrick Rose had the league at his feet. In the 2010-2011 season, he averaged 25 points and nearly 8 assists, leading the Bulls to the best record in the NBA. That same year, he was crowned league MVP, the youngest in NBA history. Fans saw a fearless attacker, a humble superstar, and a Chicago savior. He was Derrick Rose, and he was next. Then, everything changed. April 28, 2012, a date Chicago fans will never forget. Game 1 of the playoffs. The Bulls were leading comfortably over the Philadelphia 76ers with just over a minute left on the clock. Then it happened. Derrick Rose drove into the lane just like he had done 1,000 times before, but this time, something was different. He collapsed. No contact, just pain. Real pain. His face told the story before the MRI did. A torn ACL in his left knee, just like that. The season was over not just for Derrick, but for Chicago. The entire city fell silent. This wasn't just any player, this was their MVP. The youngest in league history, the chosen one, and now his body had betrayed him at the height of his power. The road back was long and lonely. Rose missed the entire 2012 to 2013 season. While his teammates fought on without him, fans debated whether he should return sooner. The pressure was suffocating. Some questioned his toughness. Some said he was being smart. But one thing was clear, something inside Derrick had shifted. He finally returned in October 2013. The moment was supposed to be triumphant. But just 10 games into the season, a new injury struck, this time a torn meniscus in his right knee. Another season lost, another surgery, another year of rehab. That's when the whispers started to get louder. He's made of glass. He'll never be the same. He's done. From 2014 to 2016, Rose tried to hold on. He had flashes of his old self, a crossover here, a floater there, but the explosiveness, it was inconsistent. The fear, always present. He could no longer play without wondering if the next step might be his last. Injury after injury continued to mount. Ankle sprains, hamstring pulls, orbital bone fractures. Each one chipped away at the player he used to be. And while the physical wounds were documented, the emotional ones were less visible, but even deeper. The kid who once played with joy was now playing with doubt. Chicago, the city that once embraced him, started to move on. The front office no longer saw a franchise cornerstone. They saw a risk. In June 2016, the unthinkable happened The Bulls traded Derrick Rose to the New York Knicks. It was the official end of an era. In New York, Rose showed moments of life. He averaged over 18 points per game. But controversy followed. In January 2017, he mysteriously went missing. Before a game, no call. No explanation. It was later revealed he had flown home to Chicago to clear his head. Mentally, he was drained. Physically, he was worn. After just one season, the Knicks let him walk. Rose then signed with the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team stacked with stars but desperate for depth. A barely made event. Injuries returned. His role was murky. His confidence shaken. And then, in November 2017, he walked away from the team entirely without warning. For a brief moment, it looked like Derrick Rose might retire from the game entirely. No farewell tour. No final bucket. Just silence. But behind the scenes, something was brewing. He wasn't done yet. He couldn't be. Not like this. In March 2018, Rose signed a minimum contract with the Minnesota Timberwolves, reuniting with coach Tom Thibodeau, the man who had guided him during his MVP season in Chicago. For many, this was a footnote. For Rose, it was a lifeline. He was no longer a star, no longer the face of a franchise, just a veteran trying to hang on. Most players with his resume would have called it quits. He had money. He had fame. He had awards. But Derrick Rose didn't want to be remembered for what he used to be. He wanted to write a new chapter. He had spent years trapped in his own body, imprisoned by expectations, haunted by headlines. But now, in Minnesota, with nothing left to prove, he found something he hadn't felt in years. Freedom. And that was the beginning of something beautiful. When Derrick Rose walked away from the Cleveland Cavaliers in late 2017, it wasn't because of another injury, at least not the kind you could see on an MRI. It was deeper than that. The NBA world was stunned. Personal reasons, they said, but the truth was far more raw. Derrick Rose was on the edge of giving up the game he once loved more than anything. He had disappeared before games, left without explanation. And while the headlines painted him as unreliable or unstable, few understood the battle he was fighting. Rose wasn't just dealing with physical rehab, he was coping with emotional exhaustion, identity loss, and the terrifying question that haunts every injured star: who am I if I'm not the player I used to be? This wasn't just about minutes on the court. This was about a man trying to make peace with the death of his former self, the MVP, the superstar, the hometown king. That version of Derrick Rose was gone, and he didn't know what was left in its place. In interviews later, Rose would open up about his mental health during this period. He admitted he thought about walking away from basketball entirely. Not just retiring, disappearing. I was just in a dark place. He once said, I had to really figure out if I still love the game. It's a side of sports. Most fans never see the contracts, the cameras, the cheers. They all fade when a player loses belief in himself. And for Rose, the pressure wasn't just external, it came from within. The desire to prove he could still compete, the fear of letting down his son, the pain of letting go. In those quiet moments away from the court, away from the noise, he started to wrestle with what really mattered. Fame, gone. Status, gone. But family, that remained. Derrick Jr., his son, was growing up. And Rose wanted to be there for him, not just physically, but emotionally whole. Slowly, piece by piece, Rose started putting himself back together. He changed his approach, started training differently, focused less on being the fastest and more on being the smartest. He worked in silence. No viral videos, no flashy announcements. Just a man trying to heal. Then came the call from Tom Thibodeau. Coach Tibbs knew Rose better than anyone in the league. He had seen him rise in Chicago. He had seen his hunger, his discipline, his fire. When the Minnesota Timberwolves needed depth at the guard position, Thibodeau reached out not because of nostalgia, but because he still believed in Derrick. It wasn't a glamorous deal. A 1-year veterans minimum. No promises of playing time. No talk of redemption. Just an opportunity. But for Rose, it was everything. In Minnesota, he walked into a locker room where nobody expected anything from him. And for the first time in years, that was a blessing. No spotlight, no pressure, just basketball. He started slowly coming off the bench, playing limited minutes, but he was healthy. More importantly, he was mentally present. And that spark, long buried under years of setbacks, began to glow again. He wasn't trying to be MVP anymore. He wasn't chasing his old self. He was embracing the player he had become, a wiser, more thoughtful, more resilient version of the kid from Englewood. Every practice was a step forward. Every game, a chance to rebuild. And through it all, Rose rediscovered something he'd been missing for years. Joy. He started smiling again, laughing, talking with teammates. The game no longer felt like a burden. It felt like home. By the start of the 2018 to 2019 season, fans began noticing the handles were still there. The vision, the footwork. He wasn't the fastest guard on the court anymore, but he might have been the toughest. And then on one unforgettable night, everything came full circle. October 31st, 2018, a regular Wednesday night in the NBA. Minnesota Timberwolves versus Utah Jazz. For most fans, it was just another game on the calendar. But for Derrick Rose, it was everything. Coming off the bench that night, he wasn't expected to do much. The Wolves were shorthanded. Jimmy Butler sat out. Jeff Teague was injured. Rose was starting by necessity, not design. But sometimes the stars align for those who refuse to quit. From the opening tip, something was different. Rose came out aggressive, confident, determined. He hit floaters. He finished through contact. He splashed threes. By halftime, he had already notched 23 points, and you could feel it, something special was brewing. In the third quarter, he exploded. Pull-up jumpers, crossovers, one-handed finishes. Fans were on their feet. Teammates were locked in. The arena buzzed with every possession. Suddenly, the MVP wasn't a memory. He was right there, living and breathing in front of them. The fourth quarter became a storybook. With less than a minute left, the Timberwolves clung to a 2-point lead. Rose had 48 points. The crowd chanted his name. He stepped to the free throw line, calmly knocked down 2 shots, number 49 and 50. 50 points. 5-0. For the first time in his career, when the buzzer sounded, Rose collapsed to his knees, tears flowing freely. Teammates surrounded him. Coaches hugged him. The entire arena stood in ovation. This wasn't just a career high. This was a resurrection. Years of pain, years of setbacks, years of being written off, all validated in a single emotional night. In his post-game interview, Rose couldn't hold it in. "I worked my ass off," he said through tears. "I did this for the franchise, the organization, my teammates, the fans, everybody. I just played my heart out." He wasn't just talking about the game. He was talking about the journey. The basketball world responded instantly. LeBron James tweeted, "Every basketball fan in the world should feel good for D-Rose." Steph Curry, Chris Paul, Kobe Bryant, legends and peers alike paid respect. Social media lit up with 3 simple words: Derrick Rose. Man, for one night, the narrative changed. No more what if. No more he used to be. Just Derrick Rose present, powerful, and undeniably back But what made it even more poetic was the way he did it. Rose didn't dominate with high-flying dunks or MVP swagger. He did it with skill, with heart, with IQ. The same man who once lived above the rim now worked angles, used footwork, and beat defenders with precision. It wasn't flashy. It was pure. That night redefined who Derrick Rose was. He wasn't trying to reclaim his old identity. He was showing the world who he had become: a veteran, a fighter, a man who refused to be broken. And he didn't stop there. Throughout the rest of the 2018 to 2019 season, Rose proved he wasn't a one-night wonder. He averaged 18 points per game, shot a career-best 37% from three, and was even in early All-Star conversations. Fans rallied behind him, voting in droves. His jersey sales skyrocketed. Once again, the league had Derrick Rose fever. But more than numbers, it was the way he carried himself that stood out. He was quiet, humble, grateful. He spoke often about his son, his peace of mind, and his love for the game. You could tell he was playing not for fame, but for fulfillment. And teams noticed. In 2019, he signed with the Detroit Pistons, where he became a reliable scorer and veteran leader. He dropped 20-plus points off the bench consistently. He even had a streak of 14 straight 20-point games, the longest of his career. Not bad for someone many thought was finished years ago. Then came the Knicks, then the Grizzlies. Everywhere he went, teammates respected him, coaches trusted him, young players listened to him. He was no longer the face of the league, but he had become something arguably more valuable: a mentor, a survivor, a living testament to perseverance. He was the walking reminder that bounce backs aren't always about returning to the top, they're about refusing to stay at the bottom. What made Rose's comeback so moving wasn't just the box score, it was the emotion, the vulnerability, the humanity. Fans didn't cheer because he scored 50, they cheered because they knew how much it took to get there. They remembered the ACL, the surgeries, the criticism, the years in the dark, and through it all, Derrick Rose never lashed out, never blamed anyone, never made excuses. He just kept going, kept grinding, kept believing. That 50-point game became more than a career highlight. It became a cultural moment, a symbol of redemption. A lesson that even when life tears you down, even when your dreams fall apart, even when the world moves on without you, you can still write your comeback. You just have to keep showing up. Derrick Rose never chased a perfect career. He lived a real one. He was the youngest MVP in league history, a hometown hero, a human highlight reel, and then he was broken. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. And yet, he never stopped moving forward. He didn't return to the league to prove he was still that guy. He returned to prove he still loved the game even after it broke his heart. Over time, he became more than a star. He became a symbol for every athlete who's been injured, for every dreamer who's been doubted, for every person who's ever had to rebuild from the ground up. Derrick Rose became a mirror of resilience. His final seasons weren't filled with trophies or headlines, but they were rich in something greater: respect. From young players who grew up watching him, from fans who never stopped believing, and from a league that saw a boy become a man and a man become a fighter. On September 26th, 2024, Derrick Rose officially retired from the NBA. 16 seasons, 7 teams, countless battles. He left the game, not as a cautionary tale, but as a champion of comeback stories. His legacy will never be measured by rings or records. It'll be remembered in the tears he shed after scoring 50, in the silence he broke by stepping back into the light, and in the millions who saw his story and whispered to themselves, if he made it through that, maybe I can too. He might have lost it all once, but Derrick Rose, He never lost himself.